The Brady Tkachuk situation keeps getting crazier as a report dropped the other day stating that the New York Rangers were interested and targeting Brady Tkachuk from the Ottawa Senators. A new report has dropped today accusing the Rangers of tampering. We're going to break it all down in this episode of Rangers Digest. But before we do, a quick reminder to hit that subscribe button. About 70% of you who watch these videos are not actually subscribed to the channel. So if you want to do yourself a favor, it's free. Hit that subscribe button and you get to stay up to date with everything New York Rangers. And that's right. After everything that happened the last couple days, the Jacob Trouba trade, obviously the rumors surrounding, Brady Tkachuk coming to the New York Rangers, which was only really by Larry Brooks on Friday. Every other news outlet and every other insider has said there is no smoke, so there shouldn't be fire. But we're going to get into this today because this dropped from Elliotte Friedman, and I thought this was very, very interesting. This was a candid, interview or some interesting thoughts from Senators owner Michael Andlauer. And he went on to say that, he's basically accusing the New York Rangers of doing some soft tampering of sorts. And I thought that was very interesting. I guess he's assuming them of basically floating the idea out there to try and get this player to be interested in their team, I suppose. But there's a couple things from this article that I thought was interesting, and thank you to Phil for obviously, tweeting out some clips here from articles every now and then. He went on to say that, this is Friedman, there have been discussions where the NHL asked questions on its own. When Tavares signed with the Maple Leafs, the league reached out without the Islanders requesting so to make certain the process was clean. Toronto was fully cleared. We will see where this goes. So there is a real possibility that the NHL actually steps in now because Senators owner Michael Andlauer came out and said that this could be some type of soft tampering. So there's a real possibility the Rangers will be under investigation. And the Rangers did have something to say today, and we'll get to that in a second. But again, the Senators owner obviously not happy with anything with this situation specifically, and he went on to say this is about protecting our fans, our players, and their families, and obviously as he arrived at the Board of Governors meeting, because that is happening this week in Florida. Brady and his wife Emma just had a baby. They don't need that in their lives, and I can agree to some extent to that, but again, this is something that happens in the NHL all the time. I wouldn't say that this is necessarily soft tampering or tampering. I mean, maybe it was floated out there, but it was only one source, Larry Brooks, that said that this was something that the Rangers were targeting, that this player was a player that they were targeting. It only really came from one source, and it was on Friday, right after the Jacob Trouba trade. And of course, I think Andlauer has a lot of reasons to be upset with the NHL, of course, because obviously when he acquired the team, he was not aware of an investigation that was going on, and then they had to basically, they weren't able to have their first round pick. They had that taken away from them that year. So I can understand his frustration with the NHL as a whole. And this is from the New York Rangers. This is from Frank Saravalli, and a bunch of other insiders are reporting on this as we speak. Vince Mercogliano's on it. Obviously, Molly Walker out of New York. And then there's a couple other notable reporters like Elliotte Friedman on this as well. And this is a statement from the New York Rangers on the alleged soft tampering by the Senators owner, Michael Andlauer, regarding Brady Tkachuk. And they said, this is an irresponsible accusation, and we defer to the commissioner's office. So short and sweet. And they basically are saying that there is no soft tampering going on. I mean, I expect nothing less from the New York Rangers in terms of a statement here. But yeah. This is also from Arthur Staple of The Athletic. So if the owner says no one called on Brady Tkachuk, and the only evidence out there is people saying the New York Rangers would love a guy like Brady Tkachuk, not sure you can call that tampering. And this is kind of where I'm falling as well, as I just mentioned. If this is tampering, then every executive in the league is tampering right now, 100%. This is, the whole Brady Tkachuk to New York Rangers thing was a thing earlier this season, right? And people were really, it wasn't from any insider or anything like that. People were just saying, this is the type of player the Rangers could use. And on top of it, I also mentioned this in a video yesterday, I don't think Brady Tkachuk wants to be in Ottawa much longer. I think, I don't know about this season, but maybe next season and the following seasons, he wants to play with a competitive team, on a competitive team, right? And the Ottawa Senators have not been that for his entire duration of NHL experience, his entire NHL career. So I think that he wants to play for a team that is competitive. And if not this year, I think at some point he's going to get to that point that he's going to want to play on a competitive team. And again, if you want to call that tampering, I think a lot of people are probably tampering across the NHL. So the NHL is going to have a lot of, investigating to do in terms of that, because again, it was only from one place. It was Larry Brooks on Friday that this came. And then there was a bunch of reports out of Ottawa, obviously Sportsnet, some people on Sportsnet, TSN had it. And then again, out of New York as well, everybody was saying there's no real smoke to this rumor. It is just a rumor. It was just an article from Larry Brooks. So if that's tampering, I think there's a lot of investigations that need to happen. This is from Vince Mercogliano. And obviously he just was relaying the message that the New York Rangers had this morning about the tampering accusations. And he also wrote about Tkachuk last week in the context that people around the NHL are curious to see where things go with him in Ottawa. And that's kind of where I'm falling on things. I am curious to see if Brady Tkachuk wants to stay in Ottawa because he's not playing for a competitive team. I think this is a guy like his brother that can bring a lot to a team that would be competitive, looking to win a Stanley Cup. He is a type of player that a lot of teams want in the NHL. This is a really, really good player. His play style really lends to the playoffs as well, and he has not played in the playoffs yet. So there is no indication that Ottawa is fielding offers yet, and that has been, reported by multiple insiders as well. If Tkachuk were to become available, the Rangers and many other teams would surely have interest. He's just the type of player that they want. But from what I've heard, there have been no discussions to date on that front. The Senators clearly aren't there yet, and no one knows for sure if they ever will be. And that's kind of where we left it off, the other day as well. And Andlauer made it clear to me, this is from Pierre LeBrun as well, that he has not spoken to a single team about Brady Tkachuk at any time. He is their captain. He is going to be their captain long term, according to Andlauer. Now, Brady Tkachuk also has a no movement clause kicking in. So at some point, if Brady Tkachuk wants to leave, he could dictate exactly where he wants to go. But obviously, it sounds like those discussions have not been had yet. But I am curious to see, if he does stay in Ottawa. That is very interesting. And in terms of the player himself, this is a player that would help the New York Rangers. If they wanted to go out and get this player, he would make a big difference to this team. I think a lot of teams around the NHL would love a player like this. He's only 25, right? He's a big body. He's a point-a-game player. When it comes to the playoffs, we haven't seen him in the playoffs yet, but if he's anything like his brother, which we know he is in terms of play style, he would be a difference maker in the playoffs. So in terms of the player himself, this would be a no-brainer for the New York Rangers and a no-brainer for a lot of teams around the league, especially given his contract is very friendly going forward with the salary cap increasing. So let me know in the comments what you think about all of this. I think, I would be very interested to see if the NHL conducts any type of investigation into this. I think that this is an owner trying to defend his player, which I can appreciate. But, to have one report out there from Larry Brooks right after a big trade saying that, they're targeting this player, I don't know if you can use that as evidence or if that's enough, as Arthur Staples says here as well. I feel like every executive or GM in the league would be tampering at that point. So it's very interesting. Let me know what you think in the comments, but I think Brady Tkachuk on the Rangers would look fantastic. And I think we're going to have, if they're maybe not this season, like I said, but next season could be something to look out for because, the Ottawa Senators are not a very competitive team. So let me know what you think in the comments. And if you haven't yet, hit that subscribe button so you can stay up to date with everything New York Rangers.